If you're live, comment down below hashtag live so I know who's in here. Hashtag live. If you're watching a replay, hashtag replay. Comment down below. Let's get this video kind of trending in this group. Question on homeostasis. I had a fast recovery before, but it was unstable. How long does it take to achieve a robust recovery that is resistant to stress? 1 to 2 years. Good question, Matthew. Yeah, for me, I actually got better quite a few times, but it wasn't like really full recovery. I was never able to actually go out and do stuff and live like a regular person. It was always, yeah, I still felt like a person who had the illness, that I was sick. So the slower, not slower, but the more time you spend building up a strong foundation, that's going to determine like how well you are in the long run. It's way better to heal slower and create lasting change than heal super fast and see a lot of results, but then have everything come crashing back down. So for me, it took about a year to go, yeah, just under a year to go from being in a hospital bed, not being able to move, to being able to hike up a mountain in Hawaii. But it was with a lot of brain retraining, and it took a very big mind shift. Yeah. So yeah, usually 1 to 2 years is how long you need to go. If you're like completely bedridden down and out to being able to hike up a mountain, it should, yeah, for me it took about, obviously after that hike, I felt sick again after a little bit. It was just an adjustment period though. It wasn't a crash. And I was able to, grow stronger because of that, because I was able to just chill out and relax in that adjustment period. So yeah, 1 to 2 years. Thanks for commenting hashtag live, Amy. Everybody else, comment hashtag live. If you're here live, we're going to be sharing the replay as well. So people who are watching the replay, hashtag replay. So David, tolerance to stress is practically non-existent. Basically, the slightest amount of stress causes massive decline in physical health. I assume that this will balance out eventually. If you do the right things, it will balance out eventually. But it's not something that's going to fix itself at this stage. When you're at the point where even just trying to live a regular life is causing you symptoms, that's something that won't just fix itself. You actually have to be active in the recovery. Whereas down the road, once you're able to live a regular life, not do sports or activity, not do sports or fitness, things like that, but just get on with your daily life, do groceries, drive around and have no symptoms, that's when your body will start fixing itself, where you can be a lot more passive. So right now you're in the stage where you need to be very active, especially in the brain retraining. So controlling those symptoms, controlling the fear towards those symptoms, that is crucial in the beginning to get the ball rolling. I just posted a video today where, recovery is like trying to turn around a cruise ship. It takes a lot in the beginning and it won't move, but eventually it will start to creep and turn around. And yeah, so it takes some time, but the brain retraining is absolutely crucial in the beginning. One, dealing with the chronic pain, but two, also smacking those negative thoughts away. And most of all, those doubts, that's the biggest thing, because that's what's going to keep you stuck. So you want to really deal with those in the beginning and really focus on that. Once those are handled, then the symptoms actually start to go away. Amy, hi, could you outline the other techniques you use along with the one focusing on the pain centers in the brain? So the other technique I used, I've shared this with a few people this week, but I really just, I had to put a picture to these negative thoughts that were coming in. So any of the negative thoughts, the doubts, the fears of what could happen, of what have happened, anything negative that was always creeping in the back of my mind, I it was like swatting away mosquitoes. They're always annoying, they're always there in the beginning, but it's just smacking them away. And like for me, that's what I visualized, because I couldn't just sit there and like try to distract myself and think about something else. I had to actively be like, no, I'm not going to engage with that thought. I'm just going to smack it away. I'm not going to ignore it, but I'm actually going to smack it away and do something to actively try to get rid of it. So that's like the other kind of brain retraining exercise I did, in addition to the pain centers expanding and contracting. That's a good question. How's it going, Marla? Berlin, Germany. We got Germany in the house. We got Lan Lancashire. Is that how you say it, Amy? I'm not too sure. What else do you guys have? What I've been getting asked a lot recently is how do people expand activity? Like they're just stuck. Every time they try to do something, then they actually either get worse or, you know, they'll be down and out for a few days and they actually won't even get better. And I actually created a video about this topic this week as well, is you want to expand duration over intensity. So some people, when they're feeling good, they're feeling okay, they try to go for like a 30-second run or a minute run, 2-minute run, but you're way better off walking for like 20 minutes or 30 minutes versus trying to go for a very short run, because that increase in intensity, it's like super big increase, and then you just come crashing down right after. Your body has a rebound effect because right now it's trying to find balance. So you do one thing, it's going to try to go in the exact opposite direction to try to balance it out. And that's the thing, it's the nervous system that we really need to focus on taking the stress off of, but also retraining it to be balanced. Yeah. Peggy from Wisconsin. How's it going, Peggy? What other questions do you guys have? Like, how's your guys' week going, by the way? In the beginning of this week, I put a post in this group, Motivation Monday, what's one thing you're going to work on this week? And a bunch of people said different things. They're going to try to do yoga or focus on getting rid of the negative thoughts. How has that been going for everybody? Cheers. How long per day in minutes did you spend in the early days on the main brain retraining technique? Great question. I spent 20 to 30 minutes per day. Not 20 to 30 minutes straight, but very spread out. So 2 to 3 minutes here and there throughout the day. When I was having a lot of symptoms, I would do the brain retraining. They would go away for a few minutes and eventually they would slowly start to creep back. And when I noticed it creep back to a point where it was actually annoying and getting in the way of my day, and I was unable to, and it was hampering my ability to just do stuff, then I would do it again. So I would be doing it like every 3 to 4 hours, but just for 2 to 3 minutes at a time. Sometimes it was more than a few minutes, but I always did it before sleep. 100%. Every night I did it before sleep because that way I could go to sleep without pain, and that really helped with the quality of sleep. So Marla, or let's see, David, my brain has been conditioned to protect itself from a very young age. Yeah, David, that's usually how it starts, man. Your brain it's trying to protect itself. So that's what we have to understand too, because a lot of times we're frustrated out our body because we think it's going against us and punishing us, but it's really just a protection mechanism. That's all it is, because it thinks you're going to go out and put more stress on it, whether that's like physical stress, diet, sleep, emotional stress, all that stuff. So having been thinking this way for most of your life, it does take a bit more effort than just another person to actually turn the ship around. So when I talk about that cruise ship you're trying to turn around, think of yourself as you have like a massive cruise ship you need to turn around. It's not impossible, very doable. People have done it many times. And that's where the beauty of neuroplasticity comes in, where you can actually change the brain. But it's just going to take a lot more repetition. That's the only difference. You're just going to have to be doing a lot more repetition. But eventually, those negative thoughts, those doubts go away. And I think you even said when we chatted earlier on Instagram that you did see some results with the brain retraining. You want to keep doing that. And you're only going to see more and more results. Marla's question. I just recovered from a huge crash. And I can't really tell what caused it. Thought my baseline was stable. How do I gain confidence again? I feel like even though I do the right things, I'm just not making that much progress. Yeah, so this is where that concept of increasing duration over intensity really comes in. So focus on increasing duration, and it could be the smallest things as well. So you don't have to go from, I don't know your specific situation, but if say you're stuck at home, you can't really go out, and you try going for like a drive across the city and then walk around a park, that might be a little too much. Or maybe you're just stuck on the couch most of the day. You shouldn't be going from the couch to walking around outside. You should be going from the couch to then getting off the couch and just doing regular things in your house. Then doing things like laundry, folding clothes, dishes, basic things like that and do it that way. In terms of confidence, you'll actually have confidence knowing that you're not going to dip if you're not increasing the intensity, like having those big spikes in intensity. If you don't have those, you won't have any of these crashes or major setbacks. And that's where you gain the confidence knowing that, okay, if I don't do this, then this won't happen. If I do this, then this will happen. And basically, if you increase duration over intensity, you just will not crash unless you eat a certain thing or there's emotional stressors. I'm talking about like the physical activity increase the duration over intensity. The conditioning is huge because we'll have these deep limiting beliefs, and sometimes it's very hard to uncover those limiting beliefs. Even if we want to change them, they're so deeply rooted that it's like pulling up tree roots, right? It's so hard. You almost have to chip away at it little by little and break the root into pieces and remove them little by little. You can't just pull the whole thing out at once. Actually, that's a pretty good analogy. I just came up with conscious takes me to the worst case scenario each time to protect myself. How do you handle it when you wake up from sleeping with nightmares and it feels like you've been in a fight for your life every time you go to sleep? Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I would go to sleep and sometimes I would have dreams where I'm going back to those moments where I was in an ambulance going to the hospital or in my bed not able to roll over, and I would feel everything I was feeling. And that was my mind stuck in this like PTSD place. And it was literally PTSD because I couldn't get out of my mind and it was just reliving it. It's repetition. It's chipping away at those thoughts little by little. The thoughts are an interesting thing because a lot of times we're not in control of them. They will come in whenever. Our subconscious mind is so powerful that it takes a lot of repetition to get it to stop saying certain things. But the great thing is, if you do it enough and you kind of swat away these thoughts, then eventually they'll go away and you replace your subconscious mind with new thoughts. So it really is repetition. But when I wake up from a sleep or a nightmare, I've woken up sweating and shaking before, or waking up when my body's super tight. You just kind of do those things that help in the moment. Things like taking deep breaths, right? And those are really good temporary fixes. It's good for those really dark moments where you need a little bit of space to just breathe and just sit back and be able to, relax for a little bit. It's a great way to calm the nervous system down in the moment. Now, long term, deep breathing, it won't completely heal you. The meditation won't completely heal you. There are certain things you have to do physically and mentally that really lead you to a full recovery. We got some talk about how do I become a narcissist instead of an empath? Marla said she can teach you. Yeah, that's a good point, David. There's everyone I've met with CFS or some form of CFS, they're like usually very nice people and very understanding people. That's actually a good point. I never even realized that. You don't really see many narcissists get this kind of thing. They're all empaths who are very, very sympathetic and empathetic towards other people and very emotionally sensitive. So yeah, that is an interesting point. Yeah, Peggy, I've heard a lot of good things about EFT tapping. I've tried it before, but at the time that I tried it, I was just so sick that even just doing the motion of tapping, I think you tap like your forehead and your hand, things like that, just tapping would make me feel so much worse because it's too much physical activity for me. But it's worked for some people. Just releasing the energy. And it's one of those things that's, yeah, it's really good for them. Bertito, when you're around 7 out of 10 on your recovery. Hey, Miguel, when you are around 7 out of 10 on your recovery, how can you tell when you are pushing yourself when you are not so limited? Because sometimes I push myself without knowing it and end up hurting myself. This usually happens when I'm doing what I love most, which is playing basketball. When I'm doing what I love, I tend to forget my baseline. Any suggestion if you can relate to it? Yep, know exactly what you're talking about. I loved fitness before. I was a personal trainer and I would continue to try to work out, even go for a bike ride or just an easy bike ride or easy run, things I had done thousands of times in the past. And even though I loved it mentally, physically my body was just not ready for it. So if you find yourself feeling worse after playing basketball, I would honestly like you might have to take a break from it. And if not a break, then you just need to tone it down, like limit the number of minutes you play. So that way you can still play basketball, but within your limit, right? So it's a way that you can still do what you love, but you just have to temporarily keep it under a certain limit. How can you tell when you are pushing yourself and when you are not limited? Yeah, the thing is, if you really are at a 7 out of 10 in your recovery, if you're at the point of playing basketball and if you're still thinking about, oh, should I be doing this? If you're asking yourself, if you find yourself asking yourself, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. And there's a difference between doubt and fears and actual things. Like if stuff actually makes you feel worse, then just cut down on it. Yeah. My question is, how long do you usually play basketball for? So we just need to like cut that time in half or play it to a point where you're not feeling symptoms. Because if you do it that way, then your body will actually become stronger, not worse because of it. Your body becomes anti-fragile instead of fragile when you give it the right amount of stress. Give it too much stress, it becomes fragile and it starts to, break down and the imbalances get more out of control. The highly sensitive person. Interesting. I got to check that out. Is there any brain retraining program that you tried that didn't work? Let me think. There's a lot of stuff that worked in the moment, that helped with symptoms in the moment, like very minor, but there's a lot that didn't work long term. Like for me, the EFT didn't work for me because it just wasn't the right thing that I needed at the time. But it works for Amy, works for Peggy, and it works for a lot of people. So I would definitely encourage people to try it out. Certain people will prefer different techniques and brain retraining. For me, I resonated with the expanding the pain centers in the brain and dimming them out. That's the one my doctor taught me, and that's the one that was in the book, The Brain's Way of Healing. People with fibromyalgia and people with like severe spinal injuries with chronic pain for like 12 years, they were able to get rid of most of the pain using that exercise. So for me, that was huge. And I'm a very visual person, so that's what worked. I've always wanted to create a group like this. Even 3 years ago when I got out of the hospital, even when I was actually slowly getting better and I was still in the hospital, I was like, man, that one day if I ever get better, then I got to give back and help people and help them recover just like I'm recovering right now. And yeah, 3 years later, here we are. I got busy with my video business, started that up, and then now I'm just using those skills to help put content out for people like you guys. And once I saw it was actually making a difference, I was just putting videos out there for fun, but people started noticing them and it was actually helping a lot of people. Like the amount of messages I got was pretty crazy. There was this one lady, Kim, she didn't know if she could go to her sister's wedding. I believe it was her sister's wedding for months leading up to it, but she did the brain retraining stuff and she was actually able to go to the wedding and not have a horrible crash after. The brain retraining works, and her biggest thing was just shutting down those negative thoughts. So it's people like that that inspires me to continue to put out content that really helps everybody. Thank you, Amy. And that was a great chat yesterday. I know we chatted yesterday. Did you get that book, The Brain's Way of Healing, yet? I know you said you or your husband had an Audible account, but if you haven't yet, definitely get it and have a listen to it. Curable app has meditations, lots of journaling, brain retraining, heavy on the journaling and CBT and lots of education. That's great. That's great. And how is it? Have you been finding it? Like, are you finding it's actually helping you get better or helping with the symptoms? Because I've tried to download so many apps before, even the Calm app. But yeah, I just find it doesn't have that accountability that I need. Like I'll skip some days, I'll skip some weeks before, like this is before I got better when I was still like getting sicker and sicker. I found not having the accountability was huge. Not having someone who could say like, look, you should focus on this right now, or someone to take an outside perspective looking in on my situation and be like, yeah, you probably need to do more of this and do less of that. And I was like, yeah, that's so simple. I didn't even think about it. But having that extra eyes, like my doctor, was crucial. Absolutely crucial. You need to develop your own brain retraining program based on your experience. Yeah, I'm actually working on it. I'm trying to compartmentalize everything in an easy, like very easy format, step by step way to do it. And it'll be a very simple program. Like I think I'm gonna have a guide for it, like a one-page guide, and then I'll have a program after that. Wondering if journal really helps for pain. For me, it didn't. It didn't help with the pain, but it helped with the emotions. It helped me get things off my chest and out of my head onto paper, because you know what it's like. You guys know what it's like when you're stuck on the couch or stuck wherever. You're gonna feel like your head's gonna explode with all these thoughts because you can't do much physically, so you do a lot more mentally, and you have so many thoughts, like tons of thoughts, and just getting it out all onto paper, it just helps you clear your mind so you can, what do you call it, decompress your thoughts. And I used to do that a lot when I was well enough that I could write. I would write about places I wanted to go when I was better. It was my favorite thing to do, to write about places I wanted to eat, foods I wanted to eat, and talking about what I'm thinking in my head. A lot of times it was a lot of scribbles and crazy things I put on paper, but it was just a way, it was like an outlet to get out of my head. Can't do much physically, so when I was able to move my hands and write and think straight enough, then that helped with the emotions and the thoughts. While focusing on brain retraining CFS recovery, do you suggest we try to forget everything we have read over the years that confuses the hell out of us? Absolutely. 100%. I actually just made a video about that this week as well, is not overcomplicating things. And it can be very complex because the amount of doctors we've seen, the amount of treatments we've tried and heard about, and treatments that apparently work for a lot of other people, it's hard to stick to one thing, and it can be so overwhelming. But the thing is, when you try one thing here and one thing there, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, it's really hard to see the actual results that each program can bring. So for me, yeah, when I was in the hospital and my doctor was telling me all this stuff, I pretty much left everything at the door. I not forgot, but I let go of everything that I ever thought I knew about the illness and really absorbed the science he was teaching me. And science he was teaching me, it was the science behind my recovery video that's on YouTube. I think it's the second video on my channel. But eventually I'll put together a program where I go in depth about each of those diagrams and the science of what's happening to your nervous system and your body, why it's happening, how to fix it. I'll create a program that is a lot more in depth so people can understand it better. Because if you understand something, you don't fear it as much. Usually we fear the unknown, and we fear what might happen, what we think is going to happen, and what could potentially happen. But if we understand how these things work, then it removes a lot of the fear towards the recovery and symptoms and all the setbacks. Yeah, start journaling. Start journaling. And it's just a different stimulus on your body. Like when I was writing a lot of this stuff, I would actually feel less symptoms because my brain was so focused on getting the pen to the paper, to the movement of the letters and everything. My brain was processing that versus all the headaches and the burning sensations I was feeling and the shortness of. I've renewed for another year. It has a panic attack area that is priceless to me. Journaling helps to move the emotions out, destroy the paper, and it's gone forever sometimes. Yeah, I've done that before actually. I've wrote tons and tons of letters and I burned them. I actually burned them. I didn't just destroy them. I burned that and felt great. Felt great. A lot of us could write a book like on our journey because it's just so crazy. Yeah, it's the ups and downs and the emotional roller coaster we go on. I think all of us could write an insane book, just the amount of peaks and valleys in it. I'm actually writing a book right now explaining my whole story, and there's like 60,000 words so far, and it's a pretty descriptive story because I explained everything, like what I was feeling at the time, what I was doing, where I was, what was going through my head at each stage when I was getting sicker, and when that transformation happened in the hospital and I was ready to to change, and I was actually recovering. I write down all my thoughts. So I'm on like the final chapters of that, putting that together. Thanks, man. Appreciate your help on the questions for the next session. I have some wins to report back on. Absolutely. And tomorrow, we have Friday wins and holy shifts. So if there's anything, even if it's not a win, but a different mindset that you saw or something that you realized, a realization you had, put it in the post tomorrow, comment in the post tomorrow, and share it with people, because we want to share our wins, no matter how big or small it is, so we can help inspire each other. But cheers from Scotland. Get some sleep. Don't sleep too late. And take care, man. We'll chat with you soon, David. Does anybody else have any questions? Let's get some other people commenting. Any questions you guys have? I don't go on live too much, only when I have some extra time. So definitely take advantage of it. Ask away. What have I done in the past to stop racing thoughts? Very simple. Don't engage with them. Period. Don't engage with them. You feel something, you have a doubt, a fear, don't engage with them. Those thoughts are trying to start a conversation with you, and if you actually engage with them and you start questioning them and being like, I wonder if that's actually going to happen. So for example, I used to get this big fear. A big fear that I had was if my heart was going to explode. Literally thought it was going to explode because how fast it was beating and how it would beat for like a few days. So I would get the thought, oh, is your heart going to be able to handle this? And then if you engage with that, then it only gets worse. So I'd be like, let me think. Is it actually going to stop? Is this my limit? And then the voice would get louder. And the more you engage with it, the worse it gets. Jafet, it's good to see you in here, man. How do we know if our subconscious mind is actually overcoming the fears or getting rid of the stressors? What do you mean by that, Jafet? Actually overcoming the fears or getting rid of the stressors. Subconscious mind. Oh, okay. I think I know what you mean. How do we know if our subconscious mind is actually overcoming? The doubts and the worries get less and less. Simple as that. When they start being less frequent and less intense, that's how you know you're moving in the right direction. But the thing is, you won't see much change in the first few days or the first week, and that's where people say like, "Oh, I'm going to stop trying to change these thoughts." But when they start becoming less frequent and less intense, then that's how you know your subconscious mind is actually overcoming all of that. Were you ever hypersensitive to foods and meds? If so, how did you get over them? Yeah, I was very hypersensitive to both foods and meds. For about 3 years, I was hypersensitive to sugar. Like, even a few Skittles would give me a migraine. And eating like a pizza or even sushi, like sushi rolls, the high amount of carbs, it would cause me to have like a crash. So one time I went for all you can eat with my friends, woke up at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., heart pounding out of my chest. And I was sweating. I thought I was going to die. And I don't really know what that was, but safe to say for the next few years, I did not eat any rolls or all you can eat or dim sum or things like that. Because I was very sensitive to that. In terms of meds, I was also very sensitive to medication. But that's partly because I was taking a lot of supplements before I got sick. How I got sick, lots of energy drinks, pre-workout, coffee, stimulants, things like that. So my body was hypersensitive in a diet sense. So that's why caring less about our symptoms and fears seems to be beneficial. Yeah, 100%. But you have to go even deeper than that. You can't just care less about your symptoms. You have to actively slap them away. And you can't just care less about them, but you have to actively choose to be like, go away to those fears and symptoms. Symptoms, you can't really just tell them to go away. But yeah, over time, you fear it less and less. But mainly it starts with the thoughts. Those thoughts are what amplify everything. That's like the source of the symptoms and source of the fatigue. Not only the chronic pain, but the fatigue. Because what you have to realize is those thoughts, those are putting a limiter on your body, on your brain. So your brain is telling you the story, oh, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. because if you do that, you will crash or you will feel all this pain. And if you do all these things, you're going to stress your body out. And your body doesn't want you to get stressed. It doesn't want more stress. If you were to go out and just continue living the life that you were living before you got sick, assuming you didn't get some virus or something out of your control, if you were living a lifestyle that was in a way just overdoing it and over pushing it, if you're living a life where you're just overdoing everything, you're putting stress on your body, and your brain knows that. So in order for it to stop you from putting stress on your body, it will keep you in one place and make you not do anything. And the only way to stop you from doing all that stuff is giving you chronic pain so you stay still, and giving you fatigue so you stay still. So the more your brain tells yourself these stories of like, oh, we need to protect ourselves because it's going to do all these stressful things, the more it's going to make you feel stuck, and the more it's going to give you those symptoms of fatigue and chronic pain. So we have to retrain our mind to take the limiter off our body. And you really need to rebuild trust with your body and show it that, look, I'm not going to go out and do a bunch of crazy stuff. I'm only doing like a little bit, very little bit of activity. Then it'll be like, oh, okay, we can take off the limiter a little bit. We can loosen up on our body and not be so strict. Then you do a little bit more, and it's like, okay, we can give you a little bit more space to increase activity. And eventually, before you know it, the limiter is gone and you can live like a regular person. So it's really slowly getting rid of that limiter, if that makes sense. Yeah, they just faded away over time. They faded away. It's hard to realize it day to day because it's so gradual. But if you look at the difference from like week by week or month by month, you'll see bigger and bigger differences, especially as you go on. Somewhat of exposure training to give the body that confidence back. Exactly. That is exactly what it is. It's exposure training. That's really all it is. Yeah, you don't want to shock your system. You want to expose it to these things, but give it time to adjust, and it will adjust. When it adjusts, that's when you feel some symptoms. So it's okay to feel a little bit of symptoms. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like, no symptoms at all, 10 feeling like you have a lot of symptoms, you want to be at like a 3, max 4. You don't want to have too many symptoms. You never really want to go above a 5, definitely not above a 6 or 7. 10 is an absolute like bad crash where you're stuck in bed or you can't really move around much. That's what we want to avoid. So we also don't want to be at a 1 where we're just on a couch doing nothing, because then nothing changes. Your body has nothing to adapt to. So you want to be at like a 3 or 4. But 45 minutes in, I got about 5 more minutes here, guys. So I have time for a few more questions. I used to work out a lot. Also, like you used to take lots of pre-workout and stimulants for the gym. But COVID is, I guess, what really pushed my body overboard. Yeah. You think about it, COVID, that's a virus, puts a lot of stress on the body. And that's just another form of stress. It's really all it is. When our body reaches a certain stress threshold, then we start feeling symptoms and everything comes to the wall. So we need to rebuild that threshold by, taking stress off the body. And a lot of times it's like emotional and mental stress. Who else has got some questions? We had Jafet ask some questions. We had Peggy, Bertito, Amy, David. Who else is in here? I know there's more people in here. I know you guys got some questions. So just put them down in the comments. And if you're here live, hashtag live. If you guys are watching a replay, hashtag replay, because we're going to be posting this later. Hashtag live if you're here live right now. Hashtag replay if you're here watching later on. Any more questions, anybody? Can you get your doctor to teach other doctors what he does so that he can spread the word? Oh, man, trust me. I've had this conversation so many times with my doctor. I was like, dude, you need to get this message out there. And if it's not to other doctors, it's to people. Like, I will literally help you make the videos. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Set it up. We'll just email me and we'll set it up. So I've emailed him a couple times and he's just so busy. With him, I still do checkups with him every 3 to 4 months. And I think he went out of town for like 2 to 3 months. So I haven't heard back from him. But we're going to be doing a sit-down interview together. Hey, Vanessa. How's it going, Vanessa? I think we chatted a couple years ago when I was just getting better and you were improving a little bit too. The name is definitely familiar. Vanessa from Germany, I believe. I've had phases where I start to crash quicker and quicker and get into a negative spiral where my nervous system reacts quicker. Have you experienced that? Yeah, I have. And really, it's a negative cycle of you feel symptoms, then you feel fear and anxiety and worry, which makes you panic a lot more, which leads to more symptoms. And it's just repeats and repeats. So the symptoms lead to more negative thoughts, lead to more symptoms, lead to more negative thoughts. And then you go into this downward spiral. So the way you stop that is with the thoughts and just resting. But you really got to interrupt the thoughts. And you got to really ask yourself, what are you doing that is making you crash quicker? Like, are you continuing to do the activities? You're continuing to do the activities and you're getting worse and you're still doing the same activities. If you are, then when you notice you're doing activities that are making you feel worse, you just have to stop them, or else they're just going to get worse. And you can't go back to doing the same activity after a crash. You have to tone it down quite a bit, because now you've not damaged, but you've caused an imbalance in your nervous system that's going to take you more time to get to the point you were. So you don't want to have these crashes after. If you're going into a negative cycle quicker and quicker, you really look at what you're doing, pinpoint what's causing them. Usually it's activity, and if it's not activity, then it's a mind shift that's really needed. But mainly like activity. Yeah, really look at the activity. Just give your body however long it needs to recover. Sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's 2 weeks. Just literally chill at home. Do not push it, and you'll be surprised at how much stronger you get from that period of just chilling out at home. Like, listen to some podcast or watch a couple movies or whatever. Just give your body the time it needs to actually recover. But yeah, it was a great call, guys. We had quite a few people on here. Lots of comments. Hope that answered most of your guys' questions. Here to help. Created this group to help you guys. And yeah, we're a community of thrivers, not survivors. We're people who want to build a future of thriving health. I'm going to be doing more group calls like this, live Q&As. And I'm always going to do a live here, definitely in the Facebook group. Just keep hopping on these calls. I put out tons of free content. And yeah, there is plenty of free stuff to learn online that I'm putting out. So it was great to be here, guys. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day or night, depending on where you're at. Keep it up. Keep going. Even if it gets hard, continue to smack away those negative thoughts and do the brain retraining, because it will pay off. Once the ball starts rolling and you gain momentum, you'll be like, man, I'm so glad I stuck with it. I'll see you thrivers in the group. I'm doing a post tomorrow where we post our wins or any holy shifts or realizations. So make sure you engage with that post tomorrow morning, or could be night for you guys, in about 12 hours. Sorry, 24 hours. See you guys.